Hi, everybody. This is Silvio Canto in Dallas, Texas on Monday, August the 11th. And like we've been doing here this last week or so, we're checking with our good friend George Rodriguez down in South Texas to get the latest of what's happening with the Democrats, who, as many of you know, have decided to leave town and create a little problem down here. But George, welcome. It's always great to have you.
Thank you very much for inviting me, as usual.
Well, we're going to be talking about the Democrats, and but I want to begin. Today is anniversary number 53, if you can believe it. 1973, so 52. 52nd anniversary of a movie called American Graffiti. Now, that was not, that was just a fun movie. I don't think it went down as one of the greatest movies ever, but it was a fun movie. But here's the thing about this movie that I always found fascinating, and that's why I bring it up for this reason. The movie had a very, very small budget. It was kind of a low-budget summer movie. Like they make, these low-budget summer movies so they can be shown in drive-ins and, kids on vacation can go watch it. But the movie ends up being a blockbuster, generating $160 million in sales. And that's just a movie. Remember, they had music and everything. So I guess, the inspiration is there for anybody who has an idea. Go for it. You never know when it's going to become $1 million movie, George.
Actually, the movie is now part of the American Film Institute.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, one of the top 100. And the movie is viewed as a historical, for its historical accuracy. And I for one, have seen it several times. I mean, I saw it the summer it came out several times with friends. But now that I look at it, I see a lot of truth in it because, like one of the characters, I got up and I left San Antonio, went away to college, and things changed radically for me.
Yeah.
When I came back, a lot of my friends either didn't go to college or stayed in San Antonio, and life took a different turn for them. Right. So, the movie is very, very accurate. Never mind the music. The music is fantastic. The music is almost, well, it is. It's a time capsule for all of us that are that age.
Yeah, well, it's a soundtrack. I mean, what they did with the music was very interesting. Actually, I believe it came about because it was such a low budget. They didn't have the ability to do their own music. So what they did is they took a bunch of hits, songs that had already been hits on the radio, and put them in the music, in the soundtrack. So normally you want to have your own original music, but they basically just took a bunch of old songs and put them in the soundtrack, and the music was absolutely great. I think you're right, though. I think you're right that this movie, if somebody wanted to find out what a bunch of teenagers were doing in the United States in 1962, remember the big Wolfman Jack, the DJ, his line in the movie trailer was, "Where were you in 62?" Remember that?
Yeah.
Where were you in 62? That was that was the whole thing in the trailer. But I think if somebody wanted to find out what a bunch of kids were doing in the summer of 62 between the school years, that movie was pretty accurate.
Yeah, I think it was very, very accurate. Yes.
Yeah. And one scene that I love in that movie, it's just one of my favorite scenes, is when the two main characters, the young couple, Ron Howard, who later on became Richie Cunningham in Happy Days, if you remember, and he play on the Andy Griffith Show before?
Yes, he did.
I think he was.
That's where he started.
He was a little boy kid in the Andy Griffith Show.
Yeah, he was also in the music in the movie The Music Man. He was also in that too.
Oh, was he? Okay. All right. Well, anyway, so Ron Howard, who I don't remember the name of the character that he was playing in the movie, but he was kind of like the main character. He and his girlfriend were the two main characters.
Yeah.
And the girl who went on, the young woman who went on to be Shirley, and what was that?
Laverne and
whatever
Shirley.
it was, Laverne and Shirley.
And
I think she played, right. She played one of those two. But anyway, that this couple was my favorite part of the movie, and I laugh every time I see it, was the couple was dancing, and they were like, everybody was looking at them because he was like the homecoming king, and he was, or the prom king, and she was the prom queen, or something like that. So they're dancing in front of everybody, pretending to be this very happy couple. And they're dancing to the Platters' Smoke Gets in Your Eyes, that big popular song. And they're sitting there dancing, hugging each other a lot, and arguing with each other. And she's mad at him because of something he did. And it's like, if you want to see what a teenage romance was like, there you have it. There you have it. I mean, it was just a very funny movie overall. And anyway, I saw that today. But the idea that this movie did so well financially, because it was supposed to be one of these low budget films they make and get it over with and go on to the next movie. But this one stuck around for years. I actually remember that it was a very popular movie when VHS came out.
Yeah.
That a lot of people bought it or rented it. It was anyway. So a little bit of American Graffiti there. Happy number 52 to American Graffiti. Well,
Amazing.
Let's talk about Texas. Yeah, it was. Yeah. Let's talk about Texas, because once again, they didn't have a quorum today. So we get started today, and no quorum. We don't do business today again. But they're coming down pretty hard on these guys with some of the penalties. I mean, they don't get paid. They're cutting back on some of their budgets, I guess. So they're gonna have to lay off some people in the office unless they pay them out of their own pocket. And George, my whole reaction to this thing is that this is so stupid. If you look at it, if you're a Democrat member of Congress, and you want to influence Texas public opinion, what are you doing in Chicago being interviewed by channels that nobody watches back here? It's crazy, George. It's crazy.
It's a temper tantrum, a childish temper tantrum. And again, this is the third time that they've done it. And so this time, like they say, third strike, you're out. In this occasion, the governor, the lieutenant governor, and the attorney general are fed up, and they are going to pull all the stops to punish them for it, which is what they need to do. Right. Julian Castro, the congressman here in San Antonio, or Joaquin Castro, rather, the congressman here in San Antonio, the Democrat, was praising them the other night and had the nerve to blame the Republicans for things not getting done, while at the same time, he completely ignored that these are the people that are out of town, not the Republicans. Right. So if anything, if anybody is responsible for things not being done, like the budget for the relief of the flood up in the Kerrville area in the Hill Country, it's the Democrats that are right. responsible for it. If anybody is responsible for the budget of Texas or the state not moving forward, it's them that are responsible right. for it. I mean, they are doing no one a favor other than throwing a political tantrum that's gaining publicity. That's it.
Right. And also, if one looks at what is happening with public opinion, which is after all what matters. I mean, it doesn't really matter what the governor of Illinois thinks or the governor of California. I mean, those are, they're helpful in the sense that they give them publicity. But what really matters is public opinion back here.
Correct.
And I don't see them gaining public opinion. On the contrary, I think most people are basically reacting the way I'm reacting, which is to say, look, if you want to make your case, come back here and make it.
Exactly.
And I mean,
come here and debate.
Come here. That's right. Come here and go to the floor of the House and make your best case and show the maps and tell us how is it that somebody's voting rights are being denied. I thought that was outrageous.
Yeah.
The governor of Illinois saying that we're denying voting rights.
Yep.
And all these things about we're discriminating against who? Who's being discriminated against? They're creating more Hispanic districts. I mean, it's crazy, George.
It's foolish. I would hope that somehow the mainstream media in Texas the Austin Statesman, the Texas Monthly, the Dallas Morning News, the Houston Chronicle, that they will accurately report what is happening, because their tantrum, this political stunt, is serving no one other than themselves.
And how much it's helping them, I don't know, because I mean, because you look at some of these, you look at some of these members of the legislature, not all of them are representing safe districts. I mean, some of these representatives from the House, from the state House, they may be representing districts where you have a lot of Republicans who they're losing in this. I mean, now if you represent a 100% Democrat district, then again, there's no cost to it.
Well,
but not all of them are that way, George.
Well, the other thing that's ridiculous is how the governors of California, the governor of New York, the governor of Illinois are preaching how they're going to do retribution by gerrymandering their own states. And the majority of their states, in fact, all of their states, are already gerrymandered to get rid of Republicans. Massachusetts has 13 representatives, and none of them are Republican. So,
no, I mean, it's ridiculous. Yeah, I don't know what they're going to do there. Yeah, how can you eliminate 0 Republicans? And if you go to Maryland, it's 8-1.
It's 8-1. Yeah.
And if you look at the map of Maryland, how they came up with that Republican district is creative. I'll put it that way. And then you look at this map of Illinois, which is that looks like it was. I've concluded that map was either drawn by somebody with way too much marijuana, or somebody who was instructed to do a map to hurt Republicans. Probably the second one. But it is ridiculous, that map, 14-3.
Yeah.
A state where Republicans are
they're
getting in the low 40s.
They're threatening to hurt Republicans. I'm not sure how much more they can do that, but
no, they can't. And even if they went out, I mean, even if they tried, I mean, from what I understand is that in California and in New York, they have these commissions that they got to go through. So I was watching listening to an interview, I should say, and the lady who's very familiar with California procedures was saying that even if they tried, the change they want to make probably wouldn't be effective until 28. So it wouldn't work in 26, the change anyway. So they wouldn't necessarily be gaining. But I wish there was a better way we do this, George. I'll be honest with you. I wish there was a better way that we did these districts, drawing up these districts. But since we're not going to come up with a bunch of perfect angels who are going to do this, the only way you can do it is through the legislature, and the legislature is going to reflect the people who vote, and that's it, George.
That's it. And so that makes it, again, very, very difficult for someone to scream racism and discrimination by the governor, or by the lieutenant governor, or by the attorney general, by anyone, if it is the will of the people that is reflected because of the legislature, which is elected by the people. So, all in all, again, we get back to this. This is an exercise in futility and ridiculousness.
Right. The other thing too, George, is that if you turn this over to a commission, the states are giving up a tremendous power that they have, because the states value this power that they have to draw up the districts, and they're not going to give it up to a commission. They're not going to. So in a sense, look, it's not again, I'm willing to accept that maybe this is not the cleanest way to do it, but what's the alternative, George? Having a commission do it?
Well, again, nothing is clean in politics. I mean, let's face it. This is a legal constitutional exercise, period. And we don't need to discuss it any further than that. That they don't like it because they are the minority party. Well, here's a way to do it. They need to appeal to the mass of people. They need to appeal with policies and with politics that will attract people and help them and vote for their side. But at this point, they keep cheering on politics like abortion, like men going into women's bathrooms, like men competing in women's sports, like race-based hiring and promotions. I mean, and those things are not being supported by the majority of people. So therefore, they have lost. Their politics are losing politics.
That's right, and that's the problem. The other problem too is that I don't think they want to accept what's happening what's happening in South Texas with the gains that the Republicans are making down there.
Definitely,
and they don't want to deal with that. They somehow they still think that this is the way it used to be 10, 15 years ago, whereas everything south of San Antonio was blue. Well, it ain't that way anymore. I mean, there are still a lot of Democrats down there, but it's not the monopoly they once had.
That's the other aspect of it. How disdainful they are of Hispanic Republicans, of Hispanics who voted for Trump. You had Trey Martinez Fisher, who started using his mother's name Martinez only when he ran for office. You've got this guy Trey Fisher going on TV and being vulgar. I mean, using profanities in talking to people who voted for Trump. I mean, how do you influence people or win them over if you're disdainful to them, if you are hateful towards them, if you cut them down? I mean, please explain to me what kind of politics that is.
That's right. Well, and then you have Beto O'Rourke. He got shut down by the judge because the judge told him you can no longer finance these people. He was a bit now. That plane they took up there, was that the plane that Beto arranged for them, or was that somebody else's?
No.
So how are they going to get back? How are they going to get back?
Southwest.
Southwest works. Yeah, that works. Yeah. Or unless they have a two-way ticket on that airplane, maybe that's the way to do it. But yeah, he was on. I think he was in a public event or something over the weekend, and he went 4-letter word on the thing. And I'm just sitting there saying, Beto, you've already lost 3 times, and the last 2 by more than 10 points. So maybe you need to
vulgarity. I mean, I don't understand how they expect to win over people when they are so vulgar, other than attracting other vulgar people. But
well, no, but I think it's insane. Now, let me one quick question I wanted to ask you, because you're very familiar with procedures. When according to the Constitution, the governor can remove these people if they don't come to work, because that's what this is about. I mean, what we have here, and I was trying to explain this on Univision the other day because a lot of people get confused. So what we have here is we have a session, we have a legislative session. In other words, the government in Austin is doing business. There's a session going on, and the governor has a responsibility to at least start it, open it, and close it. You can't just leave these sessions hanging in the air. I mean, they either pass whatever they're supposed to pass or they don't pass it. So when the governor says these people are not showing up to work, he's exactly right. They're not. They're not showing up to do their jobs that they were hired to do by the voters. Also, if they cannot do their jobs, then at some point the governor or the constituents can say, well, we want somebody else to do it or replace the person. Now, replacing these people is probably going to be a little bit more complicated than the way I just described it. But I think, eventually they may be replaced, George.
They, under extreme circumstances, they can be. Now, the first thing that's happening right now, though, is that the governor is calling for another session. And he has said that he's going to call for as many sessions as it takes until this legislation is voted on. So, in other words, they don't show up for this session. Okay, that's strike 1. They don't show up for the next session, strike 2. They don't show up for the third session. I guarantee that's going to be strike 3, and they'll take action like that. In the
Right.
past, what has happened, is that the governors will provide a time frame, a time limit, and then they would go home. They would say, well, the session did not work. The session never got its quorum. The session was frustrated, and they close it and they go home, and that's the end of it.
Right.
This Governor Abbott, bless his heart, he said, nope, we're not going to do it this time. This time we're going to continue to have the session open until the legislation is voted on. So they're really looking down a long tunnel here on that aspect of it. And yes, if they continue to fail to show up, if they continue to not do legislative work, they will be removed.
Yeah. Well, when is to see the primaries are going to be in next March. Now, again, these are congressional primaries, not the general primaries. But when would these maps have to be in? I mean, the very latest it would have to be what, January 1st or something, so that people can plan their primary battles. Although I would think people kind of know what the districts are going to be, so they can start planning. They just cannot file for running. Yeah.
Okay. That's probably the goal.
Yeah. All right.
That would be the latest.
Yeah, the latest. I mean, I have to say one thing about Governor Abbott. I've seen him a lot on TV. He is a really good spokesman. I mean, he really, and I wrote a post today at the American Thinker talking about how he knows how to break Democrats because, in the sense that he knows that he puts it out there and then they go for it. And remember when they were complaining that we were complaining about people crossing the border, and then the governor said, okay, we'll send them to you. And then all of a sudden, they didn't want them anymore. And now you have a situation here. I mean, the net consequence of this incident here in Texas, the net consequence is that the country has seen how bad the Democrat maps are.
Exactly. All of a sudden, everybody's talking about how the districts looked in their state. And they're realizing that in their state, they're no better. In fact, they're worse.
That's exactly right. Well, let me just conclude by bringing in an interesting thing that happened today. President Trump has decided to federalize, I guess, the police, if that's the right word. I'm not sure if federalize is the right word.
Federalizing the police. Yes, that's right.
The police in Washington, D.C. Now, it's been a while since I've been to Washington, D.C. I always loved going to Washington, D.C. Went there several times. I loved it because I thought it was the history and all of that was so charming that you really wanted to go back and look at the Lincoln Monument and all that kind of stuff. In fact, I have a story of a couple of high school friends and I. We went to Washington, D.C. many years ago, and we had a great time. And I remember one time walking a very long distance. And when we got to the Arlington Cemetery or something like that, we asked the guard who was there, and I said, "What is the distance between here and wherever?" And the guy says, "You'll never walk it." And we said, "Well, we just did." So it was, but anyways, that's a fun memory of mine with a couple of old high school friends. But I mean, it is a fact that the city of Washington, D.C., all you got to do is look at the pictures. That it's a mess. And remember, Henry Cuellar was attacked. Democrat Henry Cuellar was attacked in Washington, D.C. Yeah. And so I think the president is right doing this. And I just read, George, that the president of the police union there in Washington, D.C. supports the president. So, he's on the right track, George.
The situation in Washington has been deteriorating for some time, and I think that the past 4 years since the George Floyd riots, when they were trying to defund the police, when they were trying to get rid of police officers, Washington D.C. being a hotbed of liberals, they did a real strong number in limiting what the police officers could do and in hiring new police officers. And consequently, the crime went through the roof. There have been shootings, there have been muggings, there have been murders, and the amount of carjackings all of that has taken a real toll. Now, the important thing to remember about Washington, D.C. is that it is the hub for tourism. And tourists are just, baffled and just cautious beyond belief when they go there. Lots of folks went for the inauguration. A couple of my friends that were there were very, very cautious as to getting onto the metro, onto the subway late at night, or even riding Uber, riding a taxi cab. The situation has been really, really getting worse and worse, and something needed to be done about it. President Trump, of course, is one that doesn't let grass grow under his feet, and he went ahead and did something. And and what's really strange, what's really very, very heartening about this whole situation is that suddenly the DC mayor, who has been so critical of him, is now supporting him. She has been speaking up about hiring more police officers. She has been speaking up about addressing the issue of crime and violence in the city. So all of a sudden, there's this change on their part. The District of Columbia is a federal district. So technically, the president administers it. The District of Columbia is a division of the federal government. And for many years, the DC government or people within the DC area have been wanting to declare themselves a 51st state, and Congress doesn't let it happen because if they did, then the federal government would have to end up paying rent to the new city government. In this way, I mean, they are the ones that run the place, and I think that Trump is very, very wise in doing what he's doing. He is showing what needs to be done to address the issue of crime in cities. I think the police departments, the police unions are extremely happy because they need the support.
Well, sure. I mean, these guys are, they tie their hands. They don't let them do their jobs. Police. And then the other thing too, many of these cities, Baltimore. I remember when I went to my mother's, her funeral ceremony, not the actual funeral, but we had a special ceremony there in Baltimore. And she, I remember meeting this lady who went to the funeral, that her husband is a police officer, and he couldn't come to the funeral. He knew my mom, but he couldn't come to the funeral because they're working like excessive hours.
Yeah.
And they're like,
double time.
They have like 30% shortage of police officers, as I understood from this lady. How can you run a police department with 30%?
How can you be safe? How can you be safe under those conditions? I mean, the situations in Austin, the situation here in San Antonio, the situation in Houston is also very, very similar. And with the liberals being upset that the police have so much overtime, well, somebody's got to do it.
That's right. And no, you're right. You're exactly right. But I think it's a good move by President Trump.
I think it's excellent.
And I think he'll get support from the locals there in Washington, D.C., I'm sure.
Well, anybody who has been mugged, I guarantee they change their tune about police.
That's right. And again, the people who are being hurt there are the residents of Washington, D.C., because the Congress is not impacted because,
they come and go.
Don't usually live in those areas. They come and go. Yeah, that's right. Well, George, as always, I want to thank you for your time, and we'll try to do another update on the Texas situation in a few days. And it's always great to have you, and go watch American Graffiti.
I'll watch it this evening. Thank you.
Yeah, watch it this evening and see if it reminds you of anything. Our good friend Rodriguez from South Texas always like to chat with him, especially with this developing story here about the members of the Texas legislature who are missing. And again, I go back to my point. If they really want to influence public opinion in Texas, what they need to do is get down here and go to the Capitol in Austin and make their best case, and go on local media and make their best case. But I don't think they're helping themselves or their cause by making their case up in Washington, D.C., or being in Chicago or whatever, and being interviewed by national media. I think they got to get down here and do some local appearances, and maybe do a city hall, or not city hall, but I mean town hall, and bring up the topic. But anyway, I don't think they're going to win this one. And in fact, I think they're hurting themselves quite a bit by doing it the way they're doing it. Thank you for listening. This is Silvio Canto in Dallas, Texas. And again, happy number 52 to American Graffiti. What a fun movie that was. All right, well, thank you for watching. This is Silvio Canto in Dallas.